All right. I am here with Mark Branch, head coach of the Wyoming Cowboys. Coach, how's it going today?
Good, good. Beautiful day here in Laradise.
So I was thinking while thinking of questions for this interview that, I realized I have personally never been to Wyoming, and I don't know too many people that have been. We have plans to, but haven't been out there yet. So can you kind of talk about what it's like out there for you?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because the last couple of weeks, I don't know if it's kind of a trend going around on Twitter, but a lot of Wyoming people keep saying there's nothing to see in Wyoming, so please stay out. And that's just kind of the mentality of a lot of people here. It's like there's a lot of beauty and such a great place to live, and I think part of that is that it's a little bit undiscovered, and we don't want it to become you know I would equate it. Obviously, we're close to Colorado, so everybody knows about Colorado's beauty, but it's also been kind of overtaken with population booms, and so I think that's kind of the mentality of people around here is they don't want to become the next Colorado, and they value and treasure the quaintness and the quietness of Wyoming. So it's just a very great place if you love the outdoors. And I always tell people I have too many hobbies here now because year round I bought a snowmobile. I've got I think I'm on my fourth side by side that I've owned since I moved here. I go boating in the summer, snowboarding in the winter. So there's like always something to do, and whether you like to fish or hunt, and I think a lot of people know about that here in Wyoming, but there's just a lot of other things to do if you're outdoorsy, if you like to go mountain biking or do hiking and trails, rock climbing. So there's just an abundance of things to do to get outdoors, and the sun's typically shining here in Wyoming, which is one thing I love also. So usually pretty easy to get yourself occupied.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, you're talking about people not wanting too much of a population impact, but you guys have had quite a few people come in from the transfer portal over the past 2 years. So Garrett Ricks, Cooper Birdwell, Gabe Willichell, and then this season you've got guys Jared Hill, Sam Mitchell, Brent Whitaker coming in. Kind of talk about how a lot of people with the transfer portal talk about how it affects negatively these smaller schools, but it seems like you guys have really been using it positively.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works both ways, and I'm not a fan of kind of the current, um, I would say the current dynamics of the whole situation, but at the same time, it's been something that I think every school needs to look at and see how it can benefit you. We're certainly waiting till kids get in the portal, and then looking to address some ways to help strengthen our lineup and trying to find the right fit. I think that's the hard thing. And my take on it as the head coach here, I've definitely talked to my assistants quite a bit about we don't want to overuse it. We don't want to build our culture and our foundation on it. So we need to make sure that the guys that we are looking at, we feel pretty confident that they're going to be a good fit with our current team and with our culture that we're building. And I think if you do that right, it can be beneficial.
So when you talk about things like culture and fit into the team, what are some kind of things that you guys look for? Transfer portal, recruiting, things like that.
Well, one thing that we've been hearing lately, and you, you get a lot different. I think you get a lot of different views and questions from kids that are in the transfer portal because they've experienced college. They've been through, 1, 2, 3, 4 years sometimes, and so they know what college is like. They know what they've experienced. And one thing we hear over and over in the recruiting process is kids say, well, one thing we hear about your program is that you guys work hard, and that's one of the things that's in our culture. And the funny thing is it's presented sometimes as a negative. And, what I've told kids is I said, well, don't fool yourself. If you think you're going to be an All-American or a national champion and not work hard, I think you're kidding yourself. You're not being realistic. So we take pride that we do work hard. That's something that I think is important for us. And so that's one of the things. I mean, obviously, I think your best programs that have had stability for a long time, which we've had stability. I've been here 16 years, and we've had success through those 16 years. And I think a lot of the programs that have that stability and that long-term success share the same values and have the same culture. But one thing that we always point to is something that's very familiar out here, which is called the Code of the West. And we go through those values. It's actually in our locker room, and the kids see it every day. But it's just old-fashioned values of be a man of your word and do what you say you're going to do. Finish what you start. Talk less, say more, and some of those cowboy values that we point to specifically to really identify what our culture is. We talk about living cowboy tough a lot, and those things are all kind of wrapped up into coming here and taking care of your responsibilities, getting prepared for life after college, taking care of your academics and getting your degree, and then coming in every day, being accountable to your team, your teammates, your coaches, yourself, and working hard and being the best that you can be. And that's different for everybody. And that's another thing I think I really, everybody wants to be the best. And that's a pretty hard definition. How can you be the best? What is the best? Everybody have arguments about it every day. What's the best America has ever had? I mean, you look at John Smith, you look at Jordan Burroughs, you look at guys that have really, put themselves up there as the best ever. And we want to keep it more simple. We want everybody to be the best version of themselves, the best they can be. And if they do that, I think, regardless of any accolades or success on the mat, they're going to be happy. They're going to be content, and they're not going to live a life with regret. They're going to go forward and take their experiences that they've gotten here at the University of Wyoming and succeed in life. And that's the most important thing that we want to look at every day.
Awesome. I love it. It does feel like sometimes people forget the student part of the student athlete. But one thing I want to ask, you talk a lot about the hard work with it. Wyoming known for the elevation and competing out there, the over 7,000 feet. What is kind of the adjustment period for when guys come in and get their first taste of something like that?
Yeah, I think it takes a couple of weeks of consistent cardio. If you come in and you're just kind of drilling and not really getting your heart rate up, then you're not going to make that adjustment as fast. So I think guys that come in and they hit cardio pretty hard daily, and they'll get through it within a couple of weeks where they're not noticing it anymore. And that's part of that. The reason we emphasize working hard is because we really don't want to ever lose a match because we're not able to wrestle our best for 7 minutes. And we really have no excuses because we get to train at altitude every day. We live at altitude every day. We also have things here within our facility. We have altitude chamber that helps us go in and train at lower altitude. So we can live, if you get into the science of it, you want to live high and then train low. We live high and we train high 99% of the time, but we definitely, have the opportunity here with some amazing facilities to train low too. And that's something that's unique to us. Something that nobody else has, and that's the great thing. I mean, you look at Air Force, they kind of focus on altitude a lot like we do, but we're another 1,500 feet higher than them. So one thing that we always say is nobody can train the way that we do. And especially when we get into our preseason training in the fall. We actually go up to the mountains. We go another 1,500 feet higher than we are here in Laramie. We go up above 9,000 feet, and we do training. And one thing I always remind our guys is not one person in the country is doing what we're doing right now. And we should hang our hat on that and be proud of that, and also have that in our back pocket, knowing that we're doing something that nobody can replicate.
That's cool. The low altitude training is interesting. That makes sense, but I didn't know you guys had that. So kind of getting into this past season, you guys had a pretty young team overall, had quite a few true freshmen come in and make an impact. Can you kind of talk about what it was like having a lineup with that many young guys in it?
Yeah, definitely the youngest team I've ever coached, and I think we had 5 true freshmen that were in our starting lineup throughout the year. I think we had 3 that wrestled at Big 12s, another couple redshirt freshmen, and didn't have a senior in the lineup. And it was, we always set our sights very, very high, and we want to win every single duel that we wrestle. We want to win every tournament that we enter, and as unrealistic as that might be, we keep our sights set up high. But I will definitely say, looking through this year and looking back at this year with such a young, inexperienced team, it was very exciting, and I was very proud of how we competed. We came off of a very tumultuous season, and whereas we only won 1 duel, and really struggled with trying to piece our lineup together. So we depended on those young guys to really step up, and they did just that. And in our 14 duels that we had this year, we never wrestled the same lineup twice, and that was very unique. And part of that was, I think, part of that was injury, illness. Part of that was these young guys that haven't been through a college season. I think that was a little bit of a shock to a few of them. Part of it was just trying to plug guys in and see who our best team was going to be. But yeah, it's kind of strange to go through the entire season, never wrestle the same lineup twice. And then we get to the postseason, and it's like, now we got to figure out who the best 10 guys are to go. Those decisions aren't the easiest always, but was very proud of how we competed at the end. I know on track wrestling, you went through and looked at the seeding to place differential at the Big 12, and we blew everybody away. I think we were a plus 15, and the next closest team was like a plus 6 or something. So our guys definitely performed best at the end of the year, and having those guys coming back, and having a lot of energy and excitement in the room is very encouraging. And we're really excited to get to next season and make a bigger jump even than we did last year.
It's awesome. So, talking about these kind of young guys, tumultuous season, you said. So you personally, back in your competition days, won an NCAA title coming into the tournament with an 8-9 record. What kind of experience, or how did that experience kind of shape what you tell your young athletes, or coaching in situations where, you might be coming into Big 12s or NCAAs a little underseeded or looking for the top, but what kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a good something that I definitely mention at the maybe throughout the year, but definitely towards the postseason. I don't like talking about myself too much to my guys, but I also feel like those things are very important to share. And you realize, and I say you realize, I've realized that these guys, my guys, don't even know anything about my collegiate career. And I started to realize that several years ago, and you're like, holy cow, like you're getting to that age where these guys don't know anything about you. And now you're getting to that age where they weren't born. And that'll make you feel old. But, so obviously a lot of those kids know nothing about myself, my career. They don't know those things. A lot of them, some of them do, but a lot of them don't know that. And so I think it is important to share your personal story. And if anything, I think it gives them a sense of hope. And I think some of them really like attach themselves to it and see themselves like that. Like, hey, I can really make something happen here at the end of the year. My season may not have gone the way I planned it. It may not have been the most successful regular year, but now none of that really matters. The experience from it matters. What you took from it matters. The growth that you had matters. There's a lot that matters, but the results aren't that significant. And so if you can believe in that, and if you did grow with each win, with each loss, with each experience, then you're on the right path to do some special things. And you obviously got to believe in yourself when you get to the Big 12 tournament, when you get to the NCAA tournament. You have to believe in yourself. And part of that is believing in your preparation. Part of that's, the biggest part of that is believing in your journey to go, my journey has been the most important thing to get me here. And just like I said, what did I learn from that journey? What did I figure out from that? What adjustments did I make? So those things we do talk about. And like I said, maybe some kids don't, oh, well, he wrestled back in the Stone Age. Wrestling's still wrestling. And I still feel the same way. I mean, some of the guys that I watched when I was a young kid, they're still amazing wrestlers. And I know that if they were competing in this day and age, they would be just as successful. So, if they take those things and learn from that advice and learn from advice from our other coaches, I think that they are growing and they have an opportunity to be the best version of themselves for sure.
So one guy that really seems to exemplify that, Yori Volk, All-American this season. I got to talk to him a couple times at Big 12s, and it seemed like that self-belief was something that came up a couple times. He goes and wins Big 12 title, and then NCAA's drops his first match and wins 4 in a row to make the podium. Kind of talk about, and he again talking about youth, true sophomore. Talk about what his impact's kind of been and what you see in him with all that.
Yeah, Jory's been, really amazing. His first 2 years here, he's set himself, out as the hardest worker in the room. I think consistently. There's a few guys that are right there with him, but he competes in that room to be the hardest worker. He competes when we condition every day. He competes to win every race. He competes in the wrestling room and fights for every point, and those things are really important. But for sure, I think when he came in as a true freshman, he just came off U20 Worlds. He was a little bit, I think, naive, but I would also say it was a confidence, and I didn't want to mess with it. We kind of talked to him a little bit. We're like, hey, let's focus on mat wrestling. Let's focus on top and bottom. And he was like, oh, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about bottom. Like, I can get away from anybody. And you love that confidence. And I didn't want to break that confidence, because to be honest, as a coach, you're like, if a kid believes that and a kid wrestles that way, he's going to be, pretty tough to deal with. And so you just kind of go, okay, well, let's just work on a few things. And then early on as a true freshman, he was like, holy smokes, I need to get better on bottom. And then it probably went to, in his mind, he was like, I suck on bottom. And he lost that confidence that he had. And now it's like, okay, reality's setting in. Some of my concerns were realized. I'm like, his confidence wasn't enough to get him through it. He's got to add some fundamentals, and he's got to know what to do in certain situations. So, That's something that he's very coachable. The one thing is in that practice room, he's so coachable. The thing that he knows that he continues to need to work on is being coachable in competition, because a lot of times when he gets into competition, he goes back to some of those conservative habits of trying to wrestle a little bit safe. And when he opens up offensively, and when he opens up in any position, when he wrestles aggressively, I think he's one of the best guys in the country, and I know he can beat anybody in the country. So that's the kind of the part last year that we really shifted to, and we continue to shift to, is just now, believe in yourself to the point of you're not scared of going out and getting down. And that's the thing. If you watch Big 12s through, he won a Big 12 championship, and I think in his 4 or 5 matches that he had at Big 12s, he was only in the lead for like 30 seconds total. So he was wrestling from behind in every match. And that's something that was a great experience for him to go, you need to realize I can go ahead and get behind. And actually, I'm going to wrestle better if I'm now not concerned, and I'm now not worried about making mistakes. So we kind of joke around. It's like, best thing to do is go give up a takedown, and maybe give up a couple of near fall. And then, now we're wrestling down 5-0, and now you're going to see the best version of him. Right? And he's just got to bring that from the beginning, that mentality. But his run at NCAAs, as everybody who follows the sport knows, that's one of the hardest things to do. And that's exactly what I was talking about. I was so concerned about his first round matchup, because it was a kid that I felt like there's no reason he shouldn't go get 2 first period takedowns at least. And when he went out and went scoreless in the first, I'm like, this is worst case scenario. This is rustling into his opponent's strategy. And it cost him. And now you're wrestling from behind. You're wrestling behind the 8 ball. And he really was gutsy. Had to beat a couple of guys that had beat him in the regular season to get there. Had to knock off the number one kid in the blood round. So really it wasn't the easy way, but it just shows his character, his toughness that he has, and the competitiveness, that Jory wrestles. Jory, like I said, he's a competitor. If we're in the room playing soccer or handball, that's what worries me more than anything, how competitive he is. If we're playing a game, I'm like, don't be so competitive you get hurt playing handball. But that's just the type of individual he is, and he brings that energy to the whole team. And now I think the focus is him becoming a leader, not just a leader in a leader by example in his work ethic, but a leader of now taking that role of kind of helping form and mold the team and the culture and the attitude and the energy. And he can do that. And I think that'll make him even a better competitor.
Awesome. I love it. One thing, I've watched a lot of his matches that really sticks out to me, and you're talking about him on bottom earlier, is he has a pretty unique setup from bottom. How for you when he was coming in, what was your thoughts about it, and how has that kind of changed what you guys do with him as far as coaching in that position sometimes?
Yeah, that kind of I think Jacob Wright developed that a little bit. And Jacob was a senior when Jory was a freshman. So when Jory started struggling on bottom, he was looking for ideas, and he adopted that from Jacob. And it's just it's kind of an area that we spend quite a bit of time on, of getting to our butt position and sealing off and kind of wrestling and getting that guy on the outside a little bit. And it's become comfortable for him. And the one thing is, like I said, him building confidence in what he's doing. We give him a lot of leeway to experiment with some of that stuff. But there's some times where we're like, hey, maybe your best option is to blow out of there and create motion. And I always think that for Jory, like the more motion he creates, the better chance he has to win those positions, because he's lightning fast. He has great mat instincts. It's when he kind of gets a little nervous and starts rolling around with a guy that worries me. So, he's very receptive to doing that, and he definitely has a unique setup he uses most of the time, and and that's the other thing. It's like, if you're going to set yourself up for that, then you need to stay in that position and work that position. And sometimes he forgets that. He'll set up, but then he'll try to get to a different position. I'm like, you can get there quicker if you set up a different way. But it's just he's constantly looking to evolve and grow and get more experience in different positions and find out what works best for him. And that's what I love about him. It's fun to work with. He's always trying to learn.
Awesome. Talked throughout here, like, you guys had a pretty young team last year, with a very different lineup pretty frequently, but you still at Big 12's finished 7th, best conference finish in the past 3 years. Now bringing so many guys back, plugging in some areas with the transfer portal. I mean, what are your expectations for going into 2025?
We have high expectations. I know. I believe Jory's going to be ranked in the top 5. I think Joey Novak at 197, who was a true freshman, is probably going to be ranked close to the top 5, 6, somewhere around there, based on all the guys that left and graduated. Gabe Willichell, who also had a great national tournament for us, is going to be back, probably ranked in the top 10. And so to start your season with 3 guys, most likely ranked in the top 10, I love that foundation, and I definitely think that we have some pieces, not only that have been added, but some kids that got great experience last year, built their confidence up and have momentum to really come back and stronger. And then we had true freshman Riley Davis, who came out, started for us early in the year. Another kid that is going to be right there pushing Jory to be the hardest worker in the room. And he's definitely a guy that I'm excited to get back. He had a really freak injury, which was from a former, previous surgery he had that had somewhat been botched, and the surgery, I guess, didn't take, or something was messed up with it. So, you hated to see his season end like that, but he was able to utilize his red shirt. So there's some pieces that are coming back of kids that, again, a kid like him, like I believe he's bought in 100% to our program. He's going to come in and give us everything he has and work hard, and he's going to be exciting to watch. So that you take some of those pieces and plug in there, it's really exciting. And I think we have a lot of capacity to do some special things. And you're always looking at, is this the team at NCAAs that we can have 3, 4, 5 All-Americans? And if you do that, you're pushing to be a top 10 team. And I definitely think we have the foundation, and we should be thinking that way. I think our guys should be thinking that way. They should be excited and want to be one of those guys. And so it's pretty exciting. And every year it's the sport of wrestling will deal you heartbreaks throughout the season. And so, I think the most important thing is being able to keep the focus moving forward, not hang off on mistakes or disappointments, but build, learn, grow that confidence. And I think we can do some special things at the end of the year.
That's awesome. Another thing that you guys did that was pretty cool last season was the duel against Campbell, the battle in the barn on UFC Fight Pass. Kind of talk about how that came about, what your thoughts on it were, the experience, and if that's something we can look forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm biased a little bit, obviously, but I think it was, the most unique event that college wrestling has seen in a while. And, there's been some cool things of wrestling on battleships and wrestling in military hangars and stuff like that. And I absolutely, I love the UFC's vision for college wrestling. I love the resources that they're putting into it. The people that we worked with are amazing. They're first class professionals. And we're definitely working on something for this coming season. I'm not going to break it quite yet, but it's definitely going to be a Wyoming themed event, and it's going to be just as exciting. But I was shocked. I mean, there's a lot of ins and outs to putting that event on, and a lot of things came together pretty late, and you're nervous about, are we going to make this something that's going to catch somebody's eye, something that's going to be unique? And man, I tell you what, I think we hit it out of the park, and it was one of the coolest events. And I've said this to several people, like, I've been doing this enough. We're going into a duel. I'm pretty calm. I'm focused. I'm thinking about matchups. I'm thinking about strategies. I'm thinking about maybe decisions we have to make on lineup. I'm thinking about those things, but I'm not rattled, and I'm not nervous. And when we came out in the barn, I felt like a little kid. I felt like a 19-year-old kid wrestling for a national championship again. Those juices were flowing, and that energy was high, and I was nervous as heck. And that just told me what a special event it was. But getting so many millions of impressions across our social media platforms was really cool. And I think we're going to have a lot of wrestling people and a lot of non-wrestling people talking about Wyoming wrestling come November next year. So I'm excited about what's in store for us, but I love it. And I hope a lot of schools are looking at this, and I hope a lot of schools are looking at ways to do those unique events and bring attention to our sport. I think we're creating some new fans, and definitely I want to be a competitor when it comes to that. Meaning, I want somebody to outdo the barn. We plan on outdoing it this year, and hope other schools are looking to try to outdo it. And there are definitely some great events that have been talked about, whether it's wrestling on a football field or a baseball diamond or whatever. And so those things are great for the sport. We need to embrace it and promote it, and grow it. And I think if we do that, we're gonna make ourselves healthy for a long time.
That's awesome. I watched that duel, and you talked about Riley Davis earlier, and he had a crazy match that he came up just short in, but then afterwards, I follow a lot of MMA, and I saw a bunch of their accounts tweeting out videos and clips from it, and I just thought that was so cool to see, and a really good market to tap into. But I think that's kind of all I got for you today, Coach. Is there anything that you want to leave or that we didn't touch on today for wrestling fans?
No, man, just stay tuned and support your local teams. Go to duels. That's important for every program right now. Is go show up at these duels and support your team, and let's keep growing the duels. Let's keep growing the sport. We all know what a special sport is, and we shouldn't take it for granted. And you've seen attendance growing. TV numbers have been down a little bit, it sounds like, from the experts. But if you keep putting people in the stands, then we're going to keep growing this thing, and get to Wyoming, make it a trip. There's a lot of things to see out here and a lot of things to do. So come to Wyoming and support the Cowboys or be a Cowboy.
That's awesome. I love it. Definitely have to make the trip out there sometime. And thanks again for your time today, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.